Alright, what's good, guys? Let's go over the short on NASDAQ that I took today, and let's go explain it from top to bottom. And I'll throw in a little bit of a daily bias for tomorrow as well. So, this is the Wednesday candle here, and if we go back and replay, we can see that this is a potential relevant low, right? This is the most extreme of the range until this low. And with seeing this candle closure, it's not a bullish candle closure, but this could offer a potential retracement, at least to the upside, right? So you have to be a little cautious when you see this. You can't just be immediately looking for shorts. But let me tell you how I was able to frame my bias going forward. So this was yesterday's price action, right? We had this reversal candle up here, and then we have that expansion candle, which is that 10 a.m. candle that we had. And now to me, when I see this as a shallow retracement, which is a key when I'm looking for expansions. And then I see a series of up close candles that gets closed below. And then you can see this next candle here opens high into the order block and then expands lower into what? Our drawn liquidity. That was yesterday. Going into the closer, you can see price kind of popped up. And if we go to the new day, we can kind of play price and see what's going on. So we have our opening price, which is here. We have that potential relevant low that was swept out. Now this is our new potential drawn liquidity. This is our previous daily low. And we also now understand if we go to the weekly chart, we have this weekly low here as a draw. And we also have this rejection block that I was really using paired with this old weekly low down here. So this is where my target was. And more specifically, I was looking at ES today for my drawn liquidity, just because it had that bullish, quote unquote, bullish SMT, which was at that weekly low, which we hit today. Um, so going back to NASDAQ, if we go back to the 4 hour to see what price did overnight, we play price. I don't know why this isn't working. Okay. Oh, because it was already finished. So this is what price was doing. Ideally, I did not want to see this 4 hour for a value gap get tapped into. Why did I not want to see that? Well, that would mean that price would have a large wick. And if we look at the daily, you can see that this daily candle was relatively small, right? 108 points, but you can see the candle body, right? We're getting more and more volatility, so you have to be careful with that as well. So the first thing I thought of when I saw this is I don't ideally want to see price up in here. It doesn't necessarily invalidate the day, but that would give me a lower expectation to where I could see price go to. And so what do I notice? Here's this high, a potential swing high from the closure of Wednesday. Now we have a failure to take this high, and if we look at ES, we need to check for any sort of SMT here. And so here is yesterday's closure. We can see. And so both of these assets fail to take out this high. And so when I see that, now I'm looking to see if there's going to be an hourly change in the state of delivery. To me, this isn't enough to just short because I don't typically like to short away from failure swings. So I will wait for the next signature to sort of give me my bias. And the same thing occurs on ES over here. If we play price continuously, this is what I'm now looking for. What do you guys notice, right? This is what I'm looking for. We have a up close candle. We have a swing high getting potentially put in. Now we have a reversal candle here. And now we're having expansion met with expansion. See that V shape? We play price continuously. This is what I'm looking for. Now we have the confirmation that this up close candle and this high should now be protected, as well as this high, right? This is that daily candle high. And now we're confidently able to trade away from failure swings. And if you notice, here's the high at 3 a.m. and here's the high at 7 a.m., right? Both of them fail to take the 3 a.m. high, but if you notice, the 7 a.m. high for the 7 a.m. candle takes out these relative equal highs on ES, but not on NASDAQ. So when I see that, this to me, this 7 a.m. high when I'm looking for a continuation should now be a protected high to then trade away from. So I'm framing this as my invalidation point on the day. And if we're looking at ES, the same thing. But we'll go back to one chart. Now I'm looking for that. And we potentially have already taken out our draw, right? Not every day is going to be an expansion day. And we had news at 8:30 and 10 o'clock. So now when I see this, and we can play price one more time. Now I'm expecting this hourly fair value gap to hold price. And I was a little riskier on my entry today, but I did not want to see price have a deep retracement. I did not want to see price have a failure to. I did not want to see this hourly fair value gap not hold. I didn't want to see a retracement into these highs. I didn't want to see a retracement close to these highs. That's why I took my entry where I did. I shorted at like 888, I believe, and my stop loss was up here. My stop loss was at 989. And so you can see I almost got stopped out. And the one thing that I did quote unquote wrong, or that I didn't necessarily wait for, was, and this is something that I did keep in mind, but I was willing to take the risk. And this is something that you have to ask yourself if you're willing to do. Since I could tell that NASDAQ was the stronger asset at the time, I wanted to see if I should have waited for an entry when ES finally tapped its hourly fair value gap. But in this case, if NASDAQ would have never gave me this large retracement, I potentially could have missed the trade. So that's why I said I was willing to take the risk. But if you guys understand what I teach and what I preach, I always use a 3-minute or a 5-minute change of the state of delivery. What do you notice? As soon as I saw this, I knew it was onside. All I was waiting for was a lower time frame change of the state of delivery on the 3-minute out of this hourly fair value gap, because I had a very strong feeling that that the draw was this weekly low at around 6814.50 on ES. That was my draw liquidity for NASDAQ and ES, and that also lined up with this rejection block. And where I took my entire position off was at this low down here, this daily low, which is at 609. I got filled there. So, in this case, I just solely entered off of the hourly time frame, just because I didn't feel like having to wait for a lower time frame confirmation or potentially miss out on the trade when I had such a strong feeling about this trade. But in this case, once I saw this here, I knew I was onside. As soon as we closed below here and I saw this next candle, I knew I was onside. And if you notice, ES barely gets into its hourly fair value gap. So that's what I mean by potentially you could have missed a trade, right? And the same thing occurs on ES, gives us that 3-minute change in the state of delivery, and then melts. And so I'm not afraid of needing to. This is obviously a logical point you could take off. But you guys see how close these are in relative to each other. And the same thing if we're looking at ES. If we look at ES's 930 low, and we have such a strong draw liquidity down here at 814.50, this is the kind of day where you're able to hold your trade, and that's why I held my position past this low into this 609 level. And in this volatility, it does really make a difference, right? That's an extra almost 42 points that I'm holding for. So to me, that's absolutely worth it. And if we continue to play price melts, you guys can see almost no retracement pretty much until that low is hit on ES, and then it retraces all the way up, and then sort of just dies again one more time, makes a new leg lower. But this is an example of an absolutely perfect trade from top to bottom from me in my system. We can recap it one more time. The daily didn't really give me too much because we can remove everything and start absolutely from scratch. If we're framing continuation day and we're using the fib, the 50% level was tapped. And so sometimes I see people use the candle body or whatever. I wasn't counting on the 50% of the range to get matched today, just because there wasn't a large opposing run. And when I saw price continuously fail to get up into this hourly or this 4-hour fair value gap, and then give me that second continuation, that's the reversal here. Well, this is technically all a continuation move, but this is how I'm trusting that this is going to be high day when we get this swing high put in paired with this change in the state of delivery, and the high is getting put in at 3 a.m., right? and that SMT here between ES and NASDAQ. We can look here again, right? You can see this high is taking out this high at 4 a.m. and it fails to do so. That's why I was expecting these highs to not be traded back into. Simply using the hourly fair value gap as my entry model instead of breaking it down into a lower time frame. I had a higher time frame stop and a higher time frame draw on liquidity. The RR was great. There's no need to do anything else. I have a trade idea. I'm going to now let it play out. And we know if a PD array is going to hold after a low is broken, this is going to be a true breakout, and that is why I chose to hold my trade into the draw on liquidity. And real quick, looking for tomorrow, this is a day where I will demand price to stay below the 50% of the range because this is such a large candle body. I'll be expecting this low most likely tomorrow. Price is just in a capitulation phase right now. It's just continuously going down. So we'll see what's really going on. But if we look here, I would not want to see price come into this 4-hour fair value gap if I'm trying to go short. This would be an invalidation for me. We'll see how this 4-hour closes. Maybe this 4-hour gap is left, and then we could potentially trade this sort of like this out of there. Something like that potentially. We'll see how this closes. But hourly, not really showing much. Could use this as a protected high. But going anywhere lower than the hourly with this, and since this was a high up here, I wouldn't count on this as being the most ideal order block to trade off of. But we'll see how this 1 hour and see if this 4-hour fair value gap is created or not. But this is my draw. If I wake up or this gets hit overnight tomorrow, I will not be looking to put on a trade. This is the last weekly objective for me. I don't think we will see all the way down into these lows. At least on a Friday, of course, you know, anything could happen. But another 3%, almost 4% day, most likely not likely after the expansion week that we've already had. So we'll see going forward. Weekly objective for me is at 151.57 level or 151.75 level. We can look at same thing, of course, goes for ES. Weekly objective. That's not our objective, but that would be a draw on liquidity, and then potentially this rejection block down here and this daily low at 6682 and a quarter. So that's where my eyes are. Not really interested in YM. They're it's leaving failure swings all at the highs. We put in this candle with not really any sort of reversal. Not really a fan of that, so my focus is going to be on NASDAQ since it's the weakest asset. Yeah, that's all. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I hope this helped. I'll see you guys in the next one.